Okay.
We have no pen.
We don't have pens behind you.
I steal pens. I think the next one is grow, so I'm
Yeah.
here
Yes.
too. So,
And the blue sheets will grow around the table.
do you want me to walk these out since I was going that way?
Perfect. Thank you.
Is it actually working? That's shocking. I think it's actually working correctly. I might pull up and see. It starts at 5:50.
540.
I should start now.
540. Good afternoon. Hopefully you're in the room for the GROW meeting at IETF 99. If you're not, you can go to whatever room you'd like to be in or stay here. It might be fun. Somebody in the back, please close the door, lock us in. Thank you very much. And we're going to need to gather up a Jabber scribe and a note taker. We can't go anywhere until we have a Jabber scribe and a note taker, Jen.
Do I have to make my own URL for notes this time?
No, you could just take it in email and send it to me directly, if you like. So I think that means we just need a Jabber scribe because Jared is going to do double duty. Thank you very much. We still need a Jabber scribe. Okay, where did he go? I thought it was 5:40 it started. It's 5:42. Oh, you mean give people 2 minutes? All right, we have a couple of spare minutes, so we can wait for Job.
They supplied too many cookies. They're not out yet.
You can update your note well.
I already updated my note well.
There you go. It's already updated.
Here's the sticker. No, I don't have a Jabber flags.
Okay, Job showed up, so we have a Jabber scribe.
I don't have a Jabber account, so please look for someone else.
Okay, we still need a Jabber scribe then. Our hopes were on Job, but if they failed.
Make me chase it.
Hold on.
It's good to see that all the operators are here.
I'll be the Jabber scribe.
Oh, thank you very much. Bill to the rescue. Now we can get started. Okay, so there's a note well. You've seen it. Just last meeting you saw a different one. Sorry, I'm Chris. This is Peter. We're the chairs. Happy to see you today. Hello, Randy. Hi, AJ. We have blue sheets are going around. Please make sure you sign them so we get a big giant room like this next time. We have a scribe and a jabber person. That's great. For the documents, oh, great. We have 3 things that ended up being RFCs. One of these is not even Yob's. Thanks to the working group people and to the authors themselves for knocking these out quickly, relatively speaking.
All our current slides are all our current documents. We will get updates today. So that'll cover basically all of our active documents between these RFCs that happened between last meeting and this one, and the presentations today. So without further ado, I guess we can go to presentations. We'll start with Job.
Job, you're up. Session calling. Oh, as a reminder, people who weren't here last meeting or another meeting today, please stand in the pink box if you're presenting. You can feel free to hold onto the mic or stand and stare at it. It's up to you. We have a clicky click with a laser pointer on it.
I'm Job Snyders, NTT Communications, one of the 4 authors of the BGP session calling draft. I'll first in this presentation briefly cover what this calling thing was about, then reflect on the changes between last meeting and this meeting, and then proceed to the end of the presentation. The purpose of this draft is to mitigate negative effects of maintenance related to BGP speakers. This covers both maintenance of BGP speakers themselves, but also layer 2 operators that might be present between the BGP speakers. We're targeting a BCP status because we want to encourage people to put this procedure on their RFPs when they negotiate with peering partners or transit providers or internet exchanges, that they have a uniform source to point at. This is what we like. This is a good practice. Please implement this. In the document, we differentiate voluntary teardown and involuntary teardown. Voluntary teardown means that if I, as a BGP speaker, as an operator of a BGP speaker, want to perform maintenance on a link or on a node, I will start a procedure to do that. And part of that procedure is to shut down the BGP sessions related to the link or the node. And it's voluntary because it's out of my own volition. In the case of internet exchanges, though, we've come to observe that even though internet exchanges can very dutifully email maintenance notifications to their participants, a vast majority of participants ignores those maintenance notifications, and as such may be negatively impacted by the internet exchange's maintenance. So the mechanism that is described in the second half of the draft involves involuntary teardown, where an internet exchange will ensure that the BGP sessions are forcefully brought down on behalf of their participants. And a number of internet exchanges have been doing this for a while, and stories from the operational world seem to indicate that this is a successful approach, and it in fact prevents packet loss. So this is the voluntary example. If I operate network 1 router A, and I know that I'm going to do maintenance on the link towards router B, I can just shut down the BGP session, wait for BGP convergence, and then proceed with the impacting maintenance. In the case of involuntary calling, the above 3 boxes represent the internet exchange. They are layer 2 devices. Via these layer 2 devices, 2 BGP speakers have a BGP session with each other, and because of that BGP session, they are exchanging packets. Now, if the internet exchange operator inserts a layer 4 ACL onto the relevant link they can carefully call the BGP control plane traffic between router A and router B. It will take a number of seconds, between 90 and 180 on average, before router A and router B detect that the keep alive timers or the hold timers expired, and they'll tear down the session and start reconvergence. Here's an example of what such a filter may look like. I believe this is an example on Junos. But in essence, the trick is that you filter BGP traffic in both directions, in and out on the affected ports. You limit the scope of the ACL to the peering LAN prefix that is used on that particular internet exchange. You must not forget to also do this for IPv6. And you really limit it to just the BGP session. This ensures that any traffic that keeps on flowing because they have not yet discovered that the BGP session is down remain unaffected. What has happened since the last IETF meeting is that the graceful shutdown mechanism has increased in popularity. There is now a number of implementations. The draft has been fixed up and polished, and somebody spat on it, and it was like, okay. So that can be now used as a reference by the BGP calling BCP. And we've set out to solicit feedback from internet exchanges. And for instance, one internet exchange where this was discussed on their members-only mailing list, it appeared that there were a great many voices in favor of mechanisms like this. So overall, we have not yet observed an instance where people said, this is wrong, stop it, roll it back, stop doing it on other internet exchanges. It appears this is becoming more and more of an accepted mechanism. So with that in mind, and not many changes between the last meeting and this meeting, I would like to ask the chairs to consider last call, working group last call for this document. And that's my update.
Keyur Patel, Arcus. I think this is a great document. If you're going to issue a last call on this, it probably might make sense to issue a last call on both the documents, including the GSHET one, and progress them together.
I think that is an excellent suggestion. They definitely belong in the same corner.
Okay, I think I agree with you that we're probably ready for last call, but let's take it to the list, and we'll go with the GSHET presentation next, if there's no more comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Bruno de Crane, Orange. I'm giving an update on BGP graceful shutdown session. I'll start with a one slide summary because it has been quite a long time since initial work, 5 years. So summary, we want to be able to gracefully shut down a BGP session, which means we want to reduce customers' impact in terms of traffic. And from the operator's point of view, we want to be able to ease the scheduling of maintenance operation, thanks to reducing the impact. How we want to do it? We want to make some kind of make before break behavior in both autonomous systems, so in both directions of the traffic. And we do that by initiating a BGP path exploration to search for the backup path. But in the meantime, we keep using the old nominal path. So when we finally found the backup path, we have two paths, so the old and the new one, and we can update the FIB in place, meaning we never remove the IP prefix. Sorry. But we just change the next step. In terms of status update, so for the last 5 years, the draft has been stable, let's say, or has never changed. Basically, the draft was ready, but we were waiting for a dependency on some other draft. The goal was to get a non-transitive, well-known community, in addition to the transitive community that we already have. But after 5 years, we decided to stop waiting. And so months ago, we issue a 07 version, which is the same one, but without the non-transitive community. So then we had multiple review on comments on the draft. So many thanks to reviewers, and actually specifically Job. So to summarize, the main change are multiple to many editorial changes. Another one, more technical, is the BGP community. The G-shot community is not removed anymore, so it keeps being propagated within the autonomous systems and possibly in the whole internet. And second technical change is the local pref is also changed on the ISBR itself, where before we were changing it everywhere except on the ISBR. Also, thanks to Job, we added a non-normative appendix with configuration examples. So we have a few CLI. If you want to add a few other CLIs with your favorite implementation, whether as a vendor or service provider, please feel free to send text. So now we would like to ask for a working group last call. It has been a long history in Grow working group, more than 10 years, I believe, with multiple lives and multiple set of comments. We have 2 implementations for more than 5 years now. It has been deployed in a few autonomous systems. So we believe that we want to finish the job. So please feel free to comment either now or during the subsequent last call.
Job. I would like to point out that since the mechanism uses a well-known community, there are actually many more than 2 implementations. On almost every BGP speaking platform, you can implement facilitating this feature in 3 or 4 config lines. So I would argue there are many more implementations. It's good to go.
Yes, good comment. Actually, you can implement that behavior using CLI with no impact on any implementation. For the 2 implementation I was referring to, it was an automated behavior to change the local pref and send the G-shot community before sending the notification. So it's automated behavior, but you can do it by yourself or by tools. Okay.
All right. If that's all, I think, yeah, both documents are ready for last call. We'll go ahead and issue that on the mailing list. Thanks for getting it updated and moving ahead.
Hello, it's Paolo Lucente from NTT Communications.
Paulo, you need to stand a little closer. Or,
a little closer?
Hold it, yeah.
Just take it out of the
Much better. So yes, I wanted to give an update on these 2 drafts that we have together with Serpil and Tim from Cisco. Recap from IETF 98. So in RFC 7854, we are limited to, ad-ribbing pre and post policies. And our proposal with these 2 new drafts is to extend it to, having local rib and ad-rib out pre and post policies, right? I think it's rather intuitive. And so what are the diffs? So, and if you need more information about this, like use cases and all the things we discussed in IETF 98, at the end of this presentation, you will find the backup slides to recap all of that. So what are the diffs? So in the first draft, we have expanded a little bit on the complexities if you want to try to have local RIB information out of the existing ad-ribbing, implementation of BMP. So especially what we said, we expanded on the fact that you need a kind of middle box, a root server in the middle by which you are, doing a BGP peering with this middle box, and then from that one you have BMP ad-ribbing pre-policy to travel the information to the BMP collector. You want to say something?
Yep, Keyur Patel, Cisco. Yep. Okay to ask questions now, or should I wait?
If you can wait, it's
wait.
better. Yeah, please. I'm ending shortly. And then we expanded also on the peer-up TLV, the type 3 that we proposed. So the type 3 TLV would be to pass VRF name or VRF or a table name and things like that. And we said, we should go to 255 chars string with a default global, and the root distinguisher should be zeroed out. And then we added, this is maybe the most important change, this section 542 on granularity, because at the BOF in IETF 98, there was Jeff Haas, he was speaking about potential state compression, so we added some wording around that. And then the diff about the other draft, so the ad-rib out, is that, so first of all, we have two new co-authors from Tencent and Huawei. I think it's fair to capture the situation that there was a competing draft or a very similar draft, and then essentially now we are all on board with this draft here. And then there has been a lot of recent discussion on the mailing list about the peer group. So there was like a lot of peer group versus per peer information. And as you can see over there, I think I am myself a lot into, we should not go for one or the other, but we should go for both. We should keep it open. As I was commenting actually myself on the mailing list, I think we come from a draft that was very much scoped in what it could do, and we should not go do the same mistake again. So we should provision for all the possible scenarios and then leave the implementation specific thing at the implementation stage. And so we were together with the other co-authors, we would propose something to, as simple and so to be open to both scenarios and to keep it simple. And the proposal is to have another peer-up TLV where essentially you can define the name of the peer group essentially. And with this, I'm finished. So ready for the first tomato.
So, sorry, reiterating, Keyur Patel, Arcus, I said Cisco. I no longer work for Cisco. You mentioned edge rib out and local rib. Lot of implementations that I know does compress the ribs so as to save onto the memory. Have you done any analysis to say, does this increase memory now that you want to send the data out, both for the local rib as well as edge rib out, or what are the implications on the memory?
That's a good question. Yeah, we didn't do any analysis or anything like that. I think, we can say that memory is cheap, so we should not.
I think you can say memory.
Yeah. I can say that. Yes.
Jeff, again, echoing comments I've made in the mailing list already, I do believe that both cases of peer group or update group, as Jacob likes to remind us in Cisco speak, and also per peer, have situations where they absolutely make sense.
So if you're looking at adding the encoding for it, I'm happy to let you do the work inside of the draft. If you're not willing to do the specific peer group case, I'm happy to throw a micro draft out it. Honestly, I think it just all belongs in the same place. And to Jacob's point, there's a lot of cases where you just simply need or want per peer. So that's a thing that makes sense. The memory considerations that were just brought up is actually one of the reasons why the peer group thing is of potential interest when you don't care about sort of using this as a telemetry tool for the peer-to-peer data. Partially because in some implementations, effectively what you would have to track in order to keep even mildly stateful data is sort of the equivalent of another full rib out view per peer, per monitoring station. And the amount of memory that this can take to do this and be stateful is obnoxious. It's actually one of the biggest consumers of memory on most BGP systems. There are hacks you can do if you don't care about duplicate updates. And one of the things that I think would be good to actually address in the rib out document is what your opinion on duplicate updates are, just because the use case is to some extent to cover what you actually see on the wire. But sort of we led the discussion on the mailing list, just the behavior that you're going to get off the fact that this is a monitoring mechanism, it's low priority in some cases, there is massive state compression, you're not going to get exactly the same set of things, and it's prioritized rib in versus low rib versus rib out very differently than BGP would be, because it's all going over the same pipe. Means that it's sort of a consequence that the freshness of this data is really questionable. So that's about my comments.
So, absolutely. So I wanted to let's say take a couple of your points here. So let's say still on the memory part that Keyur Patel was also raising. I would tend to say that instead of doing analysis beforehand of what would be the impact, of course every vendor should do that and whatever. I write software myself for many years, and I know that when you build something that is very flexible or that you want to keep flexible, you have a trade-off. You cover a lot of scenarios that maybe is what you want. And on the other hand, of course, you have to put some boundary when you implement things, right? So let's say you have X amount of memory and you cannot track more than whatever peers or peer groups and whatever due to the actually CPU or due to the memory available and things like that. I think that should be documented by the vendor at the time of implementation, right? That would be my take, right? So, and I would not try to constrain that at a draft level. So that's all I'm saying. So it is all, the 10 pages of documentation when you write something, when you implement something, rather than, closing it at this stage. And the other, there was another point I wanted to take, but I lost it, sorry.
Sort of briefly go back to the memory stuff. So even aside from what a specific vendor does to implement this stuff, just sort of from a BGP theoretic standpoint, the state you're asking for is a rib out. So it's going to be whatever the rib out cost is per vendor for the peer version of things. In our case, we happen to be fully stateful. It's avoids a lot of duplicate updates, but it does to be very memory intensive. Other implementations go for basically a sequence number journaling system, and in those cases, the replay is potentially significantly cheaper. But that said, it's still their cost of a rib out.
Thanks very much. Super duper.
So it sounds like you still have a few more updates or work to be done, and continue to follow up on the mailing list in next meeting.
Yes. In fact, TLV with the peer group, that is a proposal that we are proposing now, but it's not captured in the draft yet. So that is definitely something that we have to add. And then after that, as far as I'm aware, we addressed all the concerns that were raised or that have been raised so far.
Okay, great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. So with that, that concludes our agenda for this session. So we get you out a bit early. Enjoy the rest of Prague. Thank you.
Somebody send blue sheets for it, but I'll just go back and grab. Right back. Right back.
Randy.